Hello, everybody!
Hello!
And welcome to episode 1
of
History Tea.
My name is Wendy Weather. I am the history drag queen, and I am with
Ace of Hearts, and I am the bearer of love for the world. And we'll get into our names and stuff in another episode where we can talk more about our personas and where we came from and how we came to be. But we are so happy to be here.
Yes, we are here and we're talking about
Valentine's Day. We're talking about Valentine's Day, and we're going to be digging into all kinds of theories.
Yes, origins.
And we're going to be focusing, like, mine's more Roman style stuff.
And I actually did a lot more research on the Neolithic period, so mine's going to be a little bit older.
We're going to go way back.
She's
serving the tea from the beginning of time.
Caveman style.
But thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to continue this series long into the future. We hope to hold your interest, as always, and of course, we're going to be doing this in a podcast style as well.
Yes, so you can find any of our audio files on Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you get your audio media.
Yes, so you can either listen to it or watch us, have just as much fun. Sometimes you may listen to us and then be like, what are they doing? And have to go back and watch us. But please spread the word so we can get more viewers, and let's dive in.
Let's just get into it.
Yes!
Let's just fully dive in.
So, the Roman, go ahead and start with the Roman stuff.
Yeah, so actually, whenever you think of Valentine's Day, what do you think about? I think of like the heart and like red hearts, you know, very you. Very you.
And I think more about chocolate goes on sale at midnight. I love me some chocolate.
That's true.
But yes, hearts, roses. Like in your hair?
Yes, one just actually went to go with the wind, but
we're gonna water it so we can get some more.
Put some more in there.
But yeah, roses, love, obligatory date night.
Yes, obligatory date night. I mean,
and of course being able to send flowers, singograms. Oh my goodness, in my career we get to do singograms all the time. Yes, by the way, to you lovers out there, or those who are Single Awareness Day, happy Valentine's Day to you.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yes, and unfortunately we don't have flowers, but we can share our love with you through what you're listening through, or through the camera.
Exactly.
But let's go ahead and dive into the history. So, along with the hearts and stuff like that.
Yes, so actually I have some notes here. So, the very first depiction of the heart shape actually doesn't come until about 1250 through a manuscript, a French manuscript actually, that is about the Romans. But the very first actual heart shape was actually from the Indus Valley civilization, which is the very first like civilization of people.
Yes.
So they actually use pepal leaves or papal leaves, however you say it. They're in that kind of classic heart shape, and they actually would mold things in that shape, and they would use them on like decorum, like pendants, anything like that. And so that's the actual real origin of the heart shape, but the actual, like, I guess, making it popular became about in the Roman period.
Yeah, in the Roman period, Aristotle had this theory that there were actually 3 chambers in the heart. There were 2 big chambers and then one indented one in the middle, because he hadn't actually seen a heart in person. That was kind of the theory, and it had the shape very similar to the heart that we see today.
Yes.
Also, they had in the Roman period, they had the syphilia, or Silphium plant, and that also is actually kind of what the main theory of how we also got the shape of the heart as well.
Because the Silphium plant, if you look at it, so it has kind of that heart shape like the pepal leaf, but it also has a little stem that kind of comes out a little bit.
It's like, hey.
It's like, hey, how you doing? And it's also kind of usually this like violet kind of reddish color.
Right.
And the Romans actually used it a lot for contraception.
Okay, yeah.
So actually, fun
Birth
fact.
control.
Birth control, yes. So fun fact, psyllium actually used to be everywhere on the Roman Peninsula. It used to be everywhere. But the Romans used it so much that they made it a little extinct for a while. And nothing bad about that. Birth control, hey, great, love it. But they used it so much.
You know, that's so funny. Birth control wise, it's like, hey, you know, happy Valentine's Day. Like, by the way, we are controlling this, which, you know, go for it. But I think that, you know, you mentioned before we went on camera that it was depicted upside down for a long period of time.
Yeah, so the heart actually was depicted upside down a long time before, I think about the 14th century is when it kind of got turned back up around. So I think it was just because in manuscripts and stuff like that, I think that's just how it translated.
Right. Well, and I think it's really funny because, like, being in the entertainment world and stuff, and people are like, oh my gosh, where did the heart shape come from? And it's like, well, it could be depicted as breast upside down, it could be depicted as butt cheeks, you know, those kind of things, which obviously are lovely.
Right.
But, you know, the heart has so many origins. I mean, obviously nowadays it's used as an emoji or what they call an ideogram that is used to communicate and express care or a romantic gesture. Though I think nowadays it just is more to share love in a romantic way or in any kind of relationship with friends,
right.
With family, obviously with loved ones. And the most recent, you know, thing we associate with it is, of course, pleasure and emotion.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I think the heart emoji is probably one of my most used emojis.
Oh, 100%.
Because, I mean, ideograms, like you said, I mean, it all goes kind of back to the Egyptians a little bit,
yes.
right? Because hieroglyphics. Now, I don't know if they found any, like, heart-shaped hieroglyphics and actual glyphs. It would be interesting if they did, though, time-wise. It would be really interesting if they did, because the Roman and Egyptian, like, history kind of intersects at a point in history where it all kind of meshes together.
Yeah.
So it would be very interesting if there was an actual
I can tell you, if I was back in the Egyptian time period, you know that hearts would be all over my tomb. It'd be like all over my, what is it, life cast? Isn't that what they call them? What they live in, the sarcophagus. Sarcophagus.
Yes.
Yeah, my sarcophagus, they got like, you know, golds and blues, and I'd be like red and black, because that's totally my scheme.
Giving Cleopatra a run for her money. Honestly.
100%. Yes. Heard. But on top of, you know, the history and stuff, do you have any more to add with the history side of it?
I think when it comes
with the heart,
with like the history of the heart shape, I think there is also kind of this, not like mass usage of it, but I think it's just very prevalent in human culture.
Talking about history. Now, of course, we talked about the heart, but what our main feature today is the history of Valentine's Day itself.
Exactly. So Valentine's Day, kind of a national holiday, worldwide holiday, honestly.
Yeah.
How'd that even happen? Where did it come from? Who did it?
Especially when you hear the history.
How did it happen? What was this? Like, what are we doing?
Again, there are several theories on where it came from, because the period in which it did come from, the dogs are barking.
Hey, our mascot is great.
My lovely dogs. They wanted to be featured. But anyway, where it came from, there is not a lot of writings that actually define when Valentine's Day started. It's
actually very weird. It's very mysterious. So the actual origins of Valentine's Day are kind of all over the place. They really are. It's kind of like, you know, there's a knock at the door, you open it, there's nobody there. It's like, but you see somebody kind of in the distance, but somebody's walking by the street. It's like,
and you're like, hey, who knocked on my, they want answers.
Who did it?
It's like seeing Sasquatch in the distance to me, like, is that real? But anyway, St. Valentine's Day, there were many St. Valentine's Days. There was like at least 3 that we've really seen in history. But he actually was marrying people in the church.
In the church. So yes. In my research, I actually found there were 3 different St. Valentines.
Yes.
So I actually have a note here.
Okay.
So St. Valentine actually went to jail.
Yes, he did.
He went to jail.
And fell in love.
With
the jailer's daughter.
Exactly. So he was arrested, and when he was in jail, he kind of made a lot of friends, you know. You know, everybody. So he kind of is like, you went to college, right?
Oh, yes.
So there's fraternities and sororities that have, you know, they're Christian based and whatnot. Right. He was kind of like your Christian frat bro.
Yeah.
Who,
totally.
Like, kind of spread the message, you know, made friends, you know, everything. And everybody just kind of went with it.
Yeah.
They just kind of went with it.
And he was marrying people.
He was marrying people because it was actually decreed illegal.
Right.
To get married because I think it was
war times.
War times, because soldiers were kind of not attached.
Yeah, they weren't attached to going to war. They were so focused on their lives at home and their loved ones and returning home to their loved ones that basically it was decreed like nobody can get married because we don't want any of the love or anything to affect how you perform in the war battlefield.
In the actual battle. Like,
yeah. So he was like, no more marriages, but St. Valentine was like, let me hook a frat bro or frat sister up.
Yeah. So he would actually, young lovers, they would literally go to St. Valentine whilst in jail, like, and literally have a little ceremony done under the,
And they were leaving stuff at his cell.
Yes.
They were leaving little gifts and everything at his cell. Just, he was marrying them through the window.
Exactly. Literally through the bars. It's like, okay, now I pronounce you together. Do your thing.
And then, like we said, he was secretly having a relationship because he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. I'm like, but on top of that, this is where we really get the Valentine's Day thing. Because it said at the very end of the message, right before he got killed and executed, he left in a message that said, "From your Valentine." And that in history is kind of where it started to evolve. One of the theories is that it started to evolve from there because people started putting that in memoriam in their letters to their loved ones.
Exactly. And that's how we get Valentine's Day cards.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a lot of things can be attributed to a pagan holiday. So the pagan holiday that's kind of attributed to Valentine's Day is called Lupercalia.
Yes.
And it is a Roman tradition. The Romans also historically are insane. They're crazy. They're crazy.
They're out of it.
Crazy.
The thing is like, for the time period, it was, it was normal to be able to... Chopper, we know you want to talk about history. It's great, but not at the moment.
He is so excited.
I know. But anyway, so they were... I mean, the thing is it was a custom of the period. However, like we were talking about, we would not be caught doing this. However, they would strip naked.
Women.
They would strip naked, yeah.
And then
they would kill with a spear a dog or a goat
or a lamb
and
or
then
whatever.
They would take strips of the skin and beat the women with the bloody skin.
Literally, hey, bent over.
And the women were willingly taking this
and
because...
they were like, yes, it's going to make me have children.
Yeah, it'd make them fertile. That was the whole idea. And people were also doing it to land.
Exactly.
They were doing it to the land, they were doing it to women, but I can tell you right now, some of these guys, I would have been in there being like, hey, it's for the ladies over here. And I'm like, well, he's a cutie. I mean, I get the whole fertile thing, but I'd be like, hey, I choose you, Pikachu. Like with the skin. And they'd be like, outed.
One of my favorite things that I saw in my research for Lupercalia is kind of like the Fun Time Lottery. So they would also write everybody's name on a piece of parchment. Everybody wrote your name on a piece of parchment. And they would put it in this jar or kind of like this bowl. And literally they would get in a line. Everybody would line up. And literally they will draw a name out of the bowl. And that is who you're supposed to spend your Lupercalia with, as in sleep with them.
For a year, right?
Yes!
It was like a year, 6 months you had to stay with that same person to reproduce. I'm like, I would have outed myself in the whole slapping the skin on people, or I would have outed myself in that moment and been like, I'm sorry, but I don't swing that way.
Because, like, what if you were like, I don't know, Pamela, who makes, the pies down the street, but you really hate your neighbor, Paul, who's like a hole to you or something, and you got each other's names.
Yeah.
Oh, no ma'am.
And then they're like, it's like fate being like, you guys don't like each other, you're stuck together for a year, figure it out.
No ma'am. I would not have it.
The tea would be served, I'd be like, oh no, we're about to talk about these secrets I've been keeping about so-and-so.
What I would have done, I would have been like, oh, I got myself. Oh, okay. I'll just go.
Okay, I'm gonna slap this skin on me and take care of... Oh, I'm so fertile.
Yes, I got myself. Oh, yeah. I'll go.
Oh, yeah. I got my land. I need to go take care of my land and love my land. Like,
I would fully be like, oh no, I didn't get anybody.
Either that, or I would pick the one I knew was a lesbian, and I would be like, girl,
protection marriages.
Let's do this. And then I'd be like, so I'm going for Steve, you go for Josie, it'd be arranged. It'd be worked out.
Arranged, yes. So Valentine's Day only really became associated with love during the Middle Ages from a poet named Geoffrey Chaucer, which is kind of like an important poet. Like I've heard that name several times in my research when doing things about the Middle Ages and medieval times. Chaucer kind of made like Valentine's Day kind of a thing in his poetry because I'm pretty sure a lot of his stuff was like real religious. Yeah. And Saint Valentine kind of is in the zeitgeist of Catholicism and whatnot. Right. So I think it's mostly kind of like propaganda.
But there is, during the gangster time, there was the massacre of Valentine's Day.
Yes, and I think now is a great time to take a break before we dive deep into the Saint Valentine's Day massacre. Hello, everyone. It's Wendy Weather. I hope you guys are enjoying this first episode of Hister Tea. Well, while we're on a break, here is some of our socials. You can find me, Wendy Weather, at anywhere at the Wendy Weather on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can find my co-host, Asa Hearts, everywhere at Asa Hearts Official on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And go to my TikTok at The Wendy Weather for more awesome history content. And with this being the very first episode, there is some editing and other mishaps that it may or may not have happened. But I hope you guys kind of bear with us, and all the future episodes will hopefully be a lot more polished and clean. Otherwise, I hope you guys are enjoying the visual podcast if you're watching on YouTube, or the audio podcast if you're listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, or even Amazon Music, or wherever you get your audio media. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also comment and give us some history topics you guys would love to hear about. We definitely would love to hear more options and more things that you guys want to have discussed. But other than that, let's get back to this episode.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome back.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed the break. I hope you got to follow us on some social media so that you can see her TikToks, see my fun TikToks, and also see what we're doing in our daily lives. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon we'll be kicking off a Patreon where you can be the first to view a lot of our content.
Yes, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content as well.
Yes, oh my goodness, we get so tickled behind the scenes.
I know.
You will have to see it. But we were talking about before the break the Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yes, so the St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened in Chicago. Mm-hmm. In the 1920s.
Yes.
The reason why I kind of wanted to mention this in this episode is because the St. Valentine's Day Massacre is actually mentioned a lot in pop culture and TV shows, just kind of randomly. I know it was featured on the Golden Girls 3 or 4 times.
Yes, well, and then when I was in Vegas at the Gangster Museum, there was a whole thing on that, obviously. But it was about 6 guys.
Right? It's 6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7. That there's no thing, but they're trying to say that it was linked to Capone because it was one of his enemies.
Yeah. So actually, the people who were massacred, unfortunately, were henchmen of Bugs Moran.
Yes.
Who is a notorious, mobster gangster back in the day.
Big time. Well, and the thing is that as I mentioned, big enemy of Capone, which is why people are like, it had to be Capone. But there's no evidence, or there's not enough evidence to really prove that it was him.
Right.
However, the guys were executed by men dressed as police officers, later to find out that they were not.
Yes, they were in full police drag. They were, undercover, as I guess you would say.
Full police drag.
Full police drag
like RuPaul says, you wake up nude and the rest is drag.
Rest is drag. So they were in full, Blue Lives police drag, and lined up against the wall and just
massacred them. I mean,
fully the boom boom gunned them off.
What was it? They were the machine gun. No, what were they called? They weren't machine guns. They were
Tommy guns.
Tommy guns. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tommy did a lot of damage back in the 1920s.
A lot. Tommy did a lot. He did a lot.
For sure. But, of course, the thing is every bit of this that we've done, all these theories, all of these other things, this is one thing defined as an actual historical thing that we have documentation of that happened, of course, on Valentine's Day in the 1920s. And I think that that's another reason why we need to touch on it, is because we've given a lot of theories of where Valentine's Day came from and where the heart came from. However, this is a historical documented thing that
happened on a day that's kind of like celebrated as like love and stuff, but it is kind of like a tragic event that happened because people did die. Like,
so we said the Romans were crazy, but so were the gangsters.
So was the
the gangsters were like, you know what? Forget about the holiday. Which I will say, you know, we are living the singles awareness thing too.
Yes.
So we are kind of debuting this on Valentine's Day as a way for us to be like, oh my goodness, something to celebrate. So we hope that you singles out there, as well as you couples that are listening, will celebrate this wonderful day with us. Of course, along with everybody else who commercially is celebrating.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about that. So couples, Valentine's Day, I know you guys are probably stressing out. Me, I'm not.
No, me
Ace,
either.
We not.
Living a single life where I'm like, okay, so midnight I will be there for chocolate going on sale.
I'm going to the neighborhood market. Like,
like I will just. The thing is like I'm at a point where it's not like I'm gonna eat my feelings. It's just like I feel like it's like any holiday lately, but it's a commercial holiday that it's like, you know, aside from these historical facts and things that have happened, I'm not looking to be, you know, fertile. I'm not looking to do any of that. And so
I think you get whipped by goats. No.
Right, you know, and I will be, of course, looking for all that half-price stuff to make my bling for Ace of Hearts.
I think, like, Valentine's Day is probably, like, around, like, the 15th. February 15th is probably when you get probably, like, a lot of your accoutrements and stuff.
That is also when Ace of Hearts was birthed. I was like, you know what? The heart is such a widespread thing. You can get anything in hearts, any color of hearts, any of that kind of stuff. And I'm just a pure lover of people. You do you. You live your life. You have your beliefs. And that's how I believe. But I think that, you know, the base of a lot of things is just love. And that's kind of why we're here as well, is to be able to share these facts with us and give us the love. You know, we're human. We are doing the research, you know, based on the true theories that we can find. We do a lot of research behind these things.
I do a lot of research in my own time just for my, like, social media and my videos. And this is no exception. Like,
and we both can vouch for each other. We have done a lot of research coming up to this. And like I said, if you have theories that you find that you think are factual, send them to us.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to share them.
I'd love to hear, like, some historical theories from you guys. I'd love to hear it. Phone in. Like,
give some shout-outs. Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all trying to come together as a community and educate each other. And there's going to be so many conversations on here. And who knows? If you happen to be somebody that bears a lot of interest in this kind of thing, message us in. We may have guest stars on here and stuff like that, and people that are more educated sometimes on topics than we are.
Right.
But being the history drag queen, and of course being Ace of Hearts and performing out in the world and doing our research, we can do as much as we can, but we know that some people just want to listen to the history. It's like having an audio book. It's like, that's a cute book, but I don't really have the time to read, so listen in, get some history.
Exactly.
Get some Hister tea.
Hister tea.
If you have any advice on some teas to drink, because we're going to totally try some teas sometime. We may do a sampling thing.
Mine is English breakfast.
Oh my goodness.
I like English breakfast tea.
See, I love me some just regular green tea.
Oh, green tea
That's
so
natural. Good. And of course, when you're sick, it's even better. But back to what we were talking about, the commercialization of Valentine's Day.
Yes. So the commercialization of Valentine's Day actually kind of, it's mostly Hallmark.
Yep.
It's mostly Hallmark. So the Hallmark company, again, tying back to St. Valentine from your Valentine, so Hallmark kind of commercialized off of that and kind of made Valentine's Day cards. And it kind of like spiraled from there with chocolates and like other things.
And teddy bears.
Yes.
And obligatory date nights, which again, the thing is commercialization is not just a sales pitch of product. It's the idea that there's so many of these restaurants that make majority of their money on holidays, Valentine's Day especially, because it's obligatory for couples. I mean, sure, you get the other holidays where it's family coming together, but the idea that people will pay a certain amount to reserve a space ahead of time, or they know they're going to sell out that night because they're going to book all their reservations.
Right.
And especially in the world where you can do it all online.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier. Or they can, you know, the restaurants commercialize on it because they have a special menu that they can do.
Right, like they'll have like a special like dessert menu for Valentine's Day.
The steaks.
Yeah, the steaks, the chocolate like covered strawberry like pies and whatnot.
Well, and some of them do a whole package where they literally will furnish your entire date with decorations and everything.
Yes, literally the whole thing. The whole thing.
And if you have any ideas of places that do that, we would love to share them. Or hey, comment below the video and share different spaces. Let's start a conversation here on YouTube, or even here on a podcast. You know, send in questions, answers, everything like that. Again, because that's what this is. The world is more educated by conversation.
Exactly. And I always say knowledge is power. I mean, and nobody really got hurt from knowing too much.
Well, I'll tell you right now, one of the things I'm attracted to in any person is knowledge. The fact that they do their research and they come to the table with just knowledge. I mean, and hey, as a person, I think that we also strive to do it ourselves, what we want out of others. And I strive to really educate myself and do knowledge. And as we do these different episodes and stuff like that, we take you on journeys and we interview people, we hope that you can become more educated. And hey, you know, if you want us to come visit a special space of yours to be able to talk about these things, we always do appearances. We're always about that.
Always.
But definitely, please follow us on social media, like our posts, share these videos, share our social medias. We would love to converse with you. And if you have any other theories on Valentine's Day that you found, or commercial ways that people celebrate Valentine's Day, hey, sit and listen with your loved one and share it with them.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for joining us today.
And before we go, I would also just like to bring up something.
Yeah.
So Valentine's Day. So this past year, we lost a very dear Valentine to the drag community. And so this past year has been kind of interesting for the drag community, especially for the UK drag community, because we did lose our very dear Cherry Valentine this past year. And Cherry was all about Valentine's Day.
Dearly loved.
100% all about Valentine's Day. You know,
she was such a light.
Like, honestly, she was. And he did a lot for, I mean, a nurse during the entire pandemic, was on the front lines. And I think we just need to acknowledge
and a true lover of people. A lover of people. And I mean, aside from, you know, doing the nurse style stuff, I mean, just a ball of light, had fun. And I think that if you guys could just take a moment, even after you finish listening to this podcast, to just, if you haven't looked them up, please look them up. Please see what art they brought to our community.
Cherry brought a lot of really interesting art to the drag, just the drag culture in general. And I think we just need to always remember that.
We love you.
Bye!